I'm a very fortunate man to have Anthony Jordan, who I've known a long, long time. I used to help him cross the street when he was a little boy. And he's with me a long time. And he and Ramon Cabral and my district director, Amanda Septimo, put this together. And I want to thank you, because I just come in and say hello and give out the awards, but they do all the work, making sure the food was here. And yes, there is some more juice coming. We ran out of juice. We didn't realize everybody was so thirsty, but everything. But I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to this celebration, and a celebration it is. Why celebrate African Heritage Month? Well, for a couple of reasons. One reason is a fact that I didn't know till about a year ago, that I represent more people from the continent of Africa than any other congressman in the United States. And if you come from the Caribbean, as I do, I was born in Puerto Rico, and if you know the history of the Caribbean, you know that there is so much of a closeness between what people say is Puerto Rican culture or Cuban culture or Dominican culture, with the fact that the roots in so many cases is African culture that came into the Caribbean and spread out. When you hear our music, when you hear our salsa music, you hear a lot of your music, don't you? When you see our instruments, you say, gee, we invented those instruments, didn't we, right? And so it makes sense that we should celebrate each other. And not only in music and in food, but in accomplishments. And you see, my job is made easier as your congressman when I know that there are communities like the African community in my district working, studying, parenting, very important, taking care of children, making children grow up properly, strong, having faith, having religious faith and personal faith. When all those things happen, it makes my job easier, because then I can go and brag about what a wonderful district I have. And we have challenges, we have difficulties, we know that. And part of what I want to do tonight is recommit myself to making sure that your life, that your struggle, that your challenge is alleviated in any way that I can. So that in Congress, right now, there is, and this is the only political thing I'll say all night, in Congress there is an anti-immigrant sentiment. But you know, that's not new to this country. The greatest country on earth has always forgotten that it's a country of immigrants. Everybody who is in this country had somebody back there who came from another country. At the store, in your business, and some people will say, gee, they look different. But if we know the history of the African community, it's not a community that showed up in the last 6 months. It's not a community that showed up in the last couple of years. It's a community that's been here a long, long time. The only difference is that we now celebrate it, and you celebrate yourself perhaps even more than you did before. And that's important. I know that's a dangerous statement for me to make. Who am I to say that? But some people come to this country and they kind of stay low a little bit. And then all of a sudden you say, you know, I don't have to stay low. I can dress as beautiful as that woman there in yellow. I mean, she looks absolutely gorgeous. With all due respect to anybody who may get angry at me for saying that to you, okay? I don't want to be the first congressman kicked out of his own meeting, you know? And so I will continue to fight the issues in Congress. We are making changes at the same time. There are things that have happened that I never thought I would see. You've heard this from me, you've heard it from other people, but I've been in public office now 41 years, longer than anybody in the history of the Bronx and longer than any Puerto Rican in the history of the United States. When I first got elected, and I don't know who's been around long enough to remember this, around here, because some of you are too young to remember this, but when I got elected, a man by the name of Beam was mayor, a man by the name of Nixon was president. The Yankees were a losing team, sounds familiar? And the Mets were a winning team. So history may repeat itself. As a Yankee fan, it doesn't bother me if somebody from New York wins. That's not a politician talking, but it seems like we're repeating a lot of things. But today, we celebrate, and we will honor some folks. But I want to thank you. As the congressman who represents close to 700,000 people, over that, I want to thank you on behalf of all the other ethnic and racial groups for making our district, the 15th district, better than any other district in the city of New York. And that's what we celebrate today. Now, we will celebrate tonight some organizations. And before I begin, I want to thank all the organizations that are here. One lady was interviewing me or talking to me. If I say interview me, then you know who I was talking about, right? One person talked to me, she says, I got the invitation through this organization. And so we invited some people, and like good neighbors and family, they invited other people to come. And that's important. And I want you to see me as a friend. I want you to forgive me for one thing. I experienced this when I first came from Puerto Rico when I was a little kid. I still experience it, and you're going to experience it today. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names. But I don't do it in an insulting way. I will learn. So I'm telling you now, if you came here thinking I could pronounce every name, you're going to leave disappointed. So just think of it this way. I made up new names for all you wonderful, beautiful people, and that's all there is. So one of the organizations we're going to honor tonight is African Communities Together. And I understand that the founder and executive director is Amaha Casa. And if you're in the ballpark, you're okay. If you're outside the ballpark, and incidentally, and I hope you take this as a cultural tribute that I pay to you. Thank you for making soccer in the Bronx much better than it used to be. I know we call it football, but you know, to me, football is where those guys hit themselves with their helmets on the head all the time. It's an organization of African immigrants fighting for civil rights, opportunity, and a better life for our families, here in the U.S. and back in the continent of Africa. And that's so important. Never forget back home, because it's really one community throughout the world. Providing services, ACT helps African immigrants find free or low-cost assistance with immigration, jobs, and other needs. They provide free referrals to trustworthy nonprofit and government agency partners, and their staff and volunteers speak multiple languages and actively outreach to African communities that are often underserved. And that is so important. So much of what I see here tonight, I remember as a child, where my parents came from Puerto Rico. And even though Puerto Rico and all American citizens, we were still treated differently, and they found organizations that would help Puerto Ricans do better. Today, Dominicans, Mexicans, Colombians, and other groups from Latin America have the same thing. And so this work that you do is God's work, and it's something that is very important. And now Mr. Jordan should be telling me in what order the certificate from the United States Congress. There is our flag that unites us all, and it says, from Congressman Jose E. Serrano. Of course, I want you to show this everywhere you go, you know. Presents this certificate of special congressional recognition to African Communities Together for your outstanding community leadership and dedication, 14th of October, 10 days before my birthday. And then it's signed by some guy named Jose E. Serrano.
Steadfast service to the Bronx. On the House Appropriations Committee, making sure that our borough gets the resources it needs. Thank you for your leadership on immigration reform, in particular your steadfast support of the diversity visa and ensuring that we don't trade a path to legalization to shutting down the path to America that so many of our African families took, the diversity lottery, the visa lottery. Thank you. The boss has told me to be brief, so I just want to thank all the partners in the room that we work with closely. I recognize many of you, some of the agencies that we partner with, African Services Committee in the back, great partner, Ramatu Ahmed, a tireless community organizer. The advisory committee to the Bronx Borough President, and most of all, I want to thank the people who do the work that I just take credit for, and the day-to-day work of helping our community find services, get assistance, become leaders in their community, and make a change. So I want to recognize first our a member of our board of directors, Afia Atamensa. I want to recognize also our intrepid communications associate, Karina Edouard, standing there, doing her job. Member of our community organizing team and a tireless and experienced Ghanaian sister and community organizer, Sadatu Mama Trahuil. Our program manager who's now taking responsibility for helping our community with services, Ujugo Azama. And lastly, the person you probably know the best of all our team, our tireless community organizer. She's on the phone, bothering you to come to meetings, asking you, when you're coming again, and what, and just, a huge ball of energy that has driven ACT forward, Akinde Kojo Sanogo. So thank you to my team. Thank you again, Congressman. Thank you to all of you. And in the immortal words of Kwame Nkrumah, forward ever, backward never. Thank you.
That is so important because I'll be very honest with you. This is the second year. The first year we made a couple of mistakes and I take all the blame for it. And what happened? Only a few people showed up, right? This year we don't have an empty seat. And so you see, next year, we're gonna have to move to the park because there'll be so many people. And so this is really great, and I thank you for your work and for your service. Our second honoree, here I go, Zainab Sasai Harold Dow, RN, New York Tri-State Chapter, for her organization's efforts and support to the African community during the Ebola crisis. Let me say something about that. The people who stood in the front lines, the people who worked during the Ebola crisis, if you recall, the newspapers made it sound like it was going to be for New York City the end of the world. It's still hurting a lot of people throughout the world, and we're committing to making it better. But it was people like you and other people who told us to be calm, told us what to do, told us how to deal with it, and we came through it. We're still vigilant, but if it hadn't been folks like you, your organization, and what you mean, and to me, there are two professions, and it's not my profession, but there are two professions that are just so honorable. One is teaching young people all the time, and one is caring for people. You don't care who it is, you care for them. And with that smile on her face, it's like everybody wants to be sick today, Congratulations. And God bless me over here for what they call the photo opportunity.
Give me this opportunity to love my community, not only my African community, but my Bronx community, and being able to serve these people with compassion and love. And